You know, if you're a male and if you're Latino in certain contexts, if you're white in certain contexts, you're gonna either benefit from those systems of privilege, or you're gonna suffer because of those systems of privilege. And it's important to know that those systems of privilege exist there, and that you need to be able to get the knowledge, be able to do whatever it is that you can to fight against those, and to fulfill your dreams and do whatever it is that you want to do, regardless of what barriers or what type of stereotypes or what kind of beliefs exist in the community with your friends, particularly with your close friends or other people. It's important to recognize that you can fulfill your dreams and do whatever it is that you want.
You don't look like a me. I'm Dawn Lewis. I'm faculty in kinesiology, again, for those of you who just arrived. Question about privilege is kind of an interesting one for me because I grew up in New York City. So I'm here, I'm a transplant, and been here for about almost 8 years. And whenever this question of privilege comes up, I'm not one who feels as though I've been on the receiving end of privilege so much in my adult life, but I do recall my parents creating privilege for me, if that makes any sense to you. My parents they put myself and my sisters, I have two sisters, and they made certain that we were always put in environments in which we could overcome whatever the circumstances were for people of our, whatever you want to call our characteristics, our demographics, and things of that sort. Obviously, Black female. And so I went to private school, had some of the best education. My parents had us traveling around the country when we were young. We did lots and lots of things as a very close-knit family. And I didn't understand at the time, but now as an adult I realized that they created a world of privilege for us. That when I speak with other people that are similar to me, look like me, talk like me, things of that sort, that not everyone had that upbringing in that environment as I had. When I got into grad school and I really moved away, I went to undergrad in New York City, so I was still fairly home. But when I went away to grad school at Michigan State, that was my first real experience of living away from home, and realized how unprivileged I was. But didn't realize it until a particular faculty member said something to me one day. I had already finished my master's degree at Michigan State. I had a wonderful, wonderful advisor. I had plenty of friends on campus and people around me that kept my understanding of my privilege. I still lived in my world of privilege. When I was in my master's degree program, did what I thought was an average master's thesis, and my advisor said, send it to this national organization and see if you can win this national award. And I was lucky enough I did. Notice I'm saying I was lucky enough that I won the award. Still don't really think that I did such great work, but somebody thought otherwise. And then went into my doctoral program at Michigan State, so I did both my master's and my doctorate there in the same department. Having won a national award, 3 years later, I'm still in my, finishing up my, going into my dissertation years. And one of the faculty members that I really admired, I thought he was a very, very good gentleman, one day asked me to come into his office, and he wanted to offer me an opportunity to work on a study with him. And I was like, oh yes, this is wonderful, wonderful. And he said, he brought it to me as, we need diversity on our research team. And they were doing a study in inner city Detroit, and he said, we need diversity on our research team. And from that moment on, I don't know what else he said to me, but all I heard was, you're the token. And so when I got out of his office, I had my little flip phone, and I called my dad, and I said, Dad, can I just tell you what this gentleman just said to me? And I told my dad as many words as I could remember. And I said, Dad, what did that man just say to me? And he said, he just called you the token. And I said to him, I said to my dad, I said, you always told us that there's going to be a time when you're going to hear it. I just didn't think that it was going to happen to me, and I didn't think that it was going to happen to me in this institution after doing so much work and doing all the things that I had done, and that this man who I respected has now called me the token. You see? So the idea of privilege, I think we create our own privilege, especially if you are in a minority category group. And so I was very blessed to have parents who created privilege for me in my earlier life. But it is something when you realize how unprivileged you are by the words of one individual that you respect.
So the second question is, how does your understanding of privilege influence how you interact with people from other groups? And this question, panelist, is 2.5 minutes long, and I'll start with Dr. Lewis.
It makes you work harder all the time. When you know that you're on the other end of receiving privilege, that it's not something for you to have in your everyday life, it makes you work harder all the time. And it gives you a sense of loneliness. I know that in my first year here at Fresno State, or my second year, a number of undergraduate students started finding me in my office because I come from a sport background in track and field, and I've been hanging around the track team quite a bit. And so the athletes would come by my office and find me. And I remember one undergraduate student asking me about what it's like to be a professor. And I just stopped and said to her, it's lonely. It is lonely being a professor, a minority, female, black, at a university, and it doesn't matter what university we head to. It is something, we are different. We are not the norm. And it is not always the most comfortable place to be. It doesn't matter. It's not a Fresno State thing. It really isn't.
Thank you. I think one of the things that I was always sort of drilled growing up is, oh, you're Latino, if you want to succeed in life, you have to work twice as hard as everybody else, because you're going to have all these sort of barriers that you're going to have to cross. And I really actually did believe that. I did believe that, oh, well, you know, I have to work twice as hard, and, you know, because I'm Latino. But eventually I realized, and this is sort of later in my life, that I'm going to work hard because I want to work hard, and that's because that's my work ethic, not because I have to work twice as hard. And I think that's dangerous to have that type of belief, because I remember what I was doing early on in my career is looking at my Latino students and saying, okay, well, should I have higher expectations for you? Because maybe you need higher expectations so that you can work twice as hard, and because I know that you're going to overcome barriers. And that's sort of the danger as a professor, as a professional, to have those type of ideas, that you have to have high expectations for everybody, regardless of who they are. So that's the one thing that I caution all of you as you sort of move up in the system and sort of conceptualize your professional goals. Understand that, you know, you work twice as hard because that's who you are, not because you're expecting to, you know, have to overcome some type of barrier that people are telling you. The other thing that has worked for me in terms of, you know, interacting with people is I think it's always important to treat everyone with respect, no matter who they are. It's something you can't go wrong with. You know, you treat people with respect, whether they treat you with respect or not. You know, hopefully they reciprocate. But if they don't, you know, you're still hold on to your values and sort of what you believe is doing the right thing. And the most important thing, I think, and it's important to say this for all the young people in this room, is you should fight each and every day against biases and stereotypes, against racism, institutional racism, sexism. It's your responsibility now as sort of the next generation to fight against those things. And unfortunately, some of those fights are a lot of times are with your closest friend and even family members. Is finding the right language and finding the right wording and sort of telling people that this is wrong and this is why it's wrong. And sort of, so thank you.
Good word. Good word.
think about privilege and how it influences my interactions with others, I think it gives me I'm more conscious of my interactions. I'm trying to make sure that I am treating everyone equitably. Particularly as a professor, you have a very authoritative role in the classroom, and it's just as the other panelists mentioned, that